Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about the 13th Doctor story, Kerblam, written by Pete Matite and is directed by Jennifer Perrott. This story deals with concepts of Amazon workman treatment, as well as dealing with the concept of how people react to certain ideologies and certain extreme ideas which affects the work environment. And there's a whole mystery around this story, a whole mystery around the concept of this ideology, and the main story basically is that the Doctor and her crew go and work for Amazon, Space Amazon, per se. Now, interestingly, this story is written, as I said, by Pete Matite, who is actually, this is not actually his first Doctor Who thing that he's written for, but it is the first fictional thing. If you see, not on this one, because obviously this is a DVD I printed out. And usually when it comes to Doctor's DVDs and like the back of it and all that, Pete Matite actually does all of the written work on the Doctor Who classic DVD ranges. So this is actually like his first time writing a story for Doctor Who. So that's really cool. In my opinion, anyway, that's really cool. So he knows his ins and outs of the series clearly. So you might be surprised to learn that there's not really any like classic Who references in this. This story is very self-contained, although it does, though it's this is not like an official thing, but it to me in my eyes it does kind of have a loose. It's the end of a loose trilogy. The robot servant gone loose trilogy. For those like these kind of robots that appear in these stories, the Kerblam men, they resemble villains from previous Doctor Who stories, specifically two noticeable ones. One is the Robot of Death, the fourth Doctor story, in which the Doctor goes to I believe called Kandor and fights the Robot of Death, servant races that got infiltrated to do horrible and evil things, as well as the 10th Doctor story, Voyage of the Damned, where Max, I can't remember his last name, but the guy who owned the Titanic ship, he had a servant of robots which went on the loose and started killing people. And this story kind of has a very similar theme to that. It's a very similar idea. Even the robots look vaguely similar, with the big circular eyes and the robotic but almost human features on the faces, and obviously like there are a servant robot race, so it's clearly playing in that same ballroom, in that same idea. So that's something that's nothing confirmed. They have BBC haven't come out. It's like, oh, it's the robot servant trilogy or something. But me and I actually haven't heard much fans talk about this, but I know like a lot of people compare these stories, three stories in particular, and that I think I think in terms of fans, I don't know about really like anyone else, but to me personally, I consider them like a loose trilogy. When I'm in the mood to one, I get the mood to watch the other two, if that makes sense. So it's like it's I can consider it a trilogy, 4, 10, and 13 Doctors in a trilogy story. That seems really cool, and the fact that series 11 is basically a self-contained series with no returning villains for the most part. We'll get that onto the New Year special, but all the 13th Doctor, all the series 11 stories, sorry, they all are mainly self-contained. So it's not, of course, it's not intentional that this trilogy would be made, but it is playing in the same ballpark. It is still playing with the same ideas of sorts. So yeah, you can consider it a trilogy if you like. Now, this story has, well, when it came out, for those of you who do like the 13th Doctor era, did enjoy it. However, over time, when people start actually thinking about the ramifications of its moral complexity and what it's trying to say, people have noticed that the story is kind of messed up, and it has turned a lot of people off. We will get onto that when we talk about the ending specifically. And it does have its detractors. This episode does have its haters. I don't mean like people who hate this era for stupid reasons, which we've lightly mentioned it before. I mean, people do generally have issues with this story, and they are justified. They are, people do not like this story for things actually within the story. But I'm getting ahead of myself now. So basically, I'm going to sum up the story to begin with, and then we'll talk about like certain details I like, I dislike, and then we'll get on to the end. Then, essentially, at the start of the story, the Doctor gets a parcel from the Kerblam Corporation, or at least she ordered something from Kerblam, as the same way we nowadays will order something from Amazon. A phase. So clearly, this is a reference to the fact that she must have ordered this compartment in her 11th body, in her 12th body, sorry, her 11th Doctor incarnation, the Matt Smith one, who was mainly fond of fezzes. Previously, the last time the Doctor wore a fez was in The Day of the Doctor, which was 5 years prior to this episode. That is mad to think. I don't know how, just absolutely boggles my mind that this was 5 years after The Day of the Doctor. But anyway, getting ahead of myself. Well, not really, but anyway, they get a receipt, like an invoice card, which most mail, including nowadays, have. But Yasmin Khan notices that on the back of it, it has the words imprinted, "Help me." Strange thing to not strange thing to note, but when I remembered this episode before rewatching it now for the marathon, I always remembered that the words were like all like scribbled as if like the ink has been smudged and everywhere. Although it does have a kind of electronic blur to its side, the words actually like really neatly like printed on, and essentially that starts them this mystery that we need to find out who sent this email, who put "help me" on the back of a parcel, and do they generally need help, or is it a scam? Is it a prank by the workers at the Kerblam factory? And so the Doctor goes to investigate with the crew. I tell you what, I do like. The story actually starts off when they get the Kerblam, they get the email and stuff, and Ryan, who has worked in a warehouse like this, basically is just like, oh, it's just probably a prank. It's people do it all the time. You should see the things that me and my mates get up to. But it's Yaz who seems really persistent as like, maybe it's not. Maybe somebody needs help. Maybe someone's in danger. We should go and investigate. And though like the Doctor is the one who like quickly is like, yeah, we should. Clearly, obviously. But it's Yasmin Khan that actually takes like the focus into the thing. That's something that, and the way she's put as if she's feared that the Doctor wouldn't accept this call for help. She's the one that like really like pushes our characters to go through this investigation. Is the Yasmin Khan and I was kind of looking forward to at the end of The Woman Who Fell to Earth. So then they go to the Kerblam factory, the Kerblam Corporation, the warehouse, and the Doctor gets an idea from Ryan, who is like, this is basically back at work, and the entire episode is basically they go undercover, going into work in the Kerblam factory. And that's essentially the set of the story. The Doctor and the rest of the crew, they go in the Kerblam company. They first meet Julie, played by Julie Hammond Haley, who's better known for her character in Coronation Street. She was a very big soap actress, and she's the part of the human resources. And we learn a lot about this world, this future, this environment. This planet, this corporation basically owns the moon. That in Hobbit, it's the planet of the Kerblam Corporation run on. So they basically turn this entire moon into a warehouse. And in the future, there's only 10% of the workforce that's actually part. Everything else is automated. And basically, she prepares like the human roles. Still doesn't mean like it's not small numbers. There's still like 10,000 people, but it's still like 80% of the population don't have any work. and she tries her best to try and get people to enjoy themselves. And she seems really chatty with our characters, especially when she reads the psychic paper and believes that they are part of the First Lady's family or something like that. And she has this kind of not a wit, but she has this kind of like nervous energy about her, as if she's trying not to hide anything. But she seems really chatty. She seems really nervous, like maybe she's under investigation or something. And she's just like spouting all this information, and she gets our characters, to the places they need to be. With the Doctor originally supposed to be set up on a white line, they have these ankle bracelets, which are, after a scan, they get to find out like where they work in the environment. And the Doctor originally had a white line, but she needed to get into dispatch, which is a purple light. So she swapped with Graham using her sonic screwdriver, and her and Ryan actually got into this dispatch, as Yasmin got into the picking phase, the phase of going around the building picking the items so that they can go sent to dispatch. As Brian, he goes into cleaning, as he goes into like maintenance, cleaning, checking the spills and stuff. And it's here that he meets Charlie, played by Leo Flanganga, and he has this kind of nervous energy. And the Doctor as well, and Ryan, they befriend a character called Kara, played by Cauldron, Calada Jesse. I'm sorry, my brain is completely like phasing out the words here. Claudan, DIA, Jessie. And she is this character who, she's very like insecure of sorts, but she really loves working there. She just enjoys, talking to people and company, even though she is in this environment which she pushed into work. She enjoys it, and she has this kind of thing where she imagines people getting out their parcels and getting the things that she's ordered. She's also explained that she only has had one present in her entire life, as her parents weren't around, and it was for her birthday last year, where Judy gave her a parcel. I think it was cakes, I think she said, and it was like one of the happiest moments of her life. And that's basically like the main set of the story. You've got our characters, you've got them in these places, and they're setting up. The two things I really enjoy about this story, and makes it really worth watching in my eyes, is the world building and our main cast of characters. This story is incredibly well balanced when it comes to our main characters. Throughout most of Series 11, in fact, the 13th Doctor era, in fact, most stories where the Doctor is travelling with not one, not two, but three companions, there is always a trouble of balancing each character to get a specific part in the narrative. Not just one character asking a bunch of questions, one of them getting like sidelined, and then another one to actually be the second subplot of the story. No, the story actually gets a very great balance of swapping our characters around in certain environments when the situation arises with it, and also helps like each character gets their own opportunity to shine in this story, and each of them have a unique part to play in the narrative, with the Doctor obviously being the scientific one and being the one who investigates when Yasmin's not there in the situation. She's the one she's pushing in, and she's also really headstrong into pushing characters into trying to like reveal themselves. There's a great scene in which Javan, played by Callum Duxon, he is I can't remember, he's like head of departments or something like that, and he talks down to Kira, and the Doctor doesn't like that at all. So she just gets up in his face, and when he's like, do you want to put that like a disciplinary? And it's like, yeah, great, I'll add that to my collection. Now you, someone who should like know anything, like any sort of suspicious, anything to say, now tell me, as someone you might be good at your job, have you ever seen anybody so like scared of their lives? And it's clearly like there's a strange balance in terms of narrative, in terms of the world building, where characters seem to enjoy themselves and as well be in a terrible working environment. And I do like how this story has all these different characters showing you different places, mindsets of working in an environment like this. Although I think there is one character who is kind of missing, and this is someone who just absolutely hates working there. We do have, like I stated, Kara, who is the person who works there. She kind of does what she's told. She doesn't like to be like hassled. When like characters like shout at her, it's like, do your job quicker. She's just like, sorry, and she gets on with it. But she does really enjoy working there. She really has fun. But then we get to Dan, who goes onto the picker and who goes onto the, searching the items with Yaz. And he is played by legendary comedian Lee Mack, better known for Out All Night. I can't remember what the show is called. But anyway, he's a massive comedian. And this is like a classic, like, celebrity cameo from Doctor Who, which early New Who series used to do all the time. Like Peter Kay and oh my god, I can't even remember the guy who played the Doctor in The Empty Child. I can't remember his name at the moment, but anyway, he has this kind of rougher relationship with the work environment. There's a lot of moments where he's trying to talk to Yaz, and he gets on with Yaz a lot. She laughs at his jokes and stuff. But the robot's just like, hey, you're a great time, but you do know that it is distracting you from your work, so please just get on with your work. And please leave all leisurely to break times when they are available. And there's this, and the characters just kind of take it for the moment because, at least they're working, at least they have a working environment to deal with. And Yaz in this setup, she is the policewoman. Finally, she's getting some of the character moments that she needed, where she's asking questions and she's clearly trying to figure things out. She's clearly pushing. There's a great moment where, like, Lee Mack, the actor, Dan is the character, who basically is just like, he's showing her a photo of him because he's been like very respectful, though he does joke with the robots by giving them these names. And he has a necklace saying dad because he's doing his job to pay for his daughter so that she can get into a better job than he's doing. And there's this really bond. There's such a small little character here. But there's a moment that Yasmin gets a message to basically go to a certain specific part of the warehouse, to which Dan is just like, no, people go missing there. When they go missing, they seem to be fired. People go there and then I never see them again. I'll take that. You'll do my one, because you don't want to lose this job on your first day. And he goes to do it. And then he gets killed. And Yasmin, by the end of the story, feels really strong about that. And at the end of the story, she actually gives the doctor the necklace and is like, can we take it back to his daughter? It's the least we can do. Great way to end an episode, by the way. But you see Yasmin, she's trying to work all the pieces together. She is basically the doctor's investigation self when she's not around in the story. And that means that the doctor gets to pair with other characters. Yaz gets to pair with other characters. And it keeps Yasmin Khan basically keeps the B plot alive. But then we get Graham's plot line with Charlie Boy. And the cleaners. And Graham gets some of the best lines. Space Mailman, now I've seen it all. What's that one where he says, like, I've been talking, I spend all my life listening to him, but I'm like 103 or something. He just had, there's so many great small Graham moments that he just laughs. And you're just like he just takes it in his stride. He's just like, it's weird, it's odd, but I'm just going to go with it. And the fact, he's put up as the cleaner. So he's the one who basically, he's the spy of the team. He's the one that can go out to anywhere in the location, anywhere in the building, and learn more about, like, what they need to find. For example, the Doctor gives them instructions to find some sort of layout, some sort of map to get the Doctor the information she needs to try and find out where that parcel, where that note came from, because they learn quickly in dispatch that you don't get really time to write a note like that, especially like a digital note. Although they don't actually say digital or anything, they just like say it as if like somebody just quickly wrote it down, which is very strange and unusual. I just realised I didn't actually talk about the DVD cover. I'm just going to put that to the bottom side at the moment. So clearly, like, whoever sent the message sent it before it went into dispatch. But from what they can tell, everything was automated before then. Somebody must have been cooperating with the company itself, the systems, and like Graham is the one that gets the information that she needs, and he uses that by basically tricking Charlie into giving her the old mapping system of the corporation. And the way he does that, it's so great, so funny. But he's like, I'm easily confused, like you are with Kara. Oh yeah, by the way, they have a relationship. They have this kind of like awkward, like they clearly like each other kind of relationship thing. It's only really established in one scene, but it does play an important part in the story. And yeah, and it's so cool to see like such an episode in such a like it's only an hour long, but each character in the team gets a fundamental part to play. Like you feel like if you took one of the main cast out, the story would have been hurt, or at least been dramatically different than what we got in the narrative that we got now. It's a story which really could have only worked in a 4-team TARDIS team. And that, I think, really pushes the idea that, actually, a 4 TARDIS team is actually a good thing, or at least it can bring out some really unique stories. And the world here, it's so well versed. We see so many different places. We see the dispatch, we see in the cleaning area, we see this hall, which has some of the memorabilia of all the old, Kerblam stuff, like the message and you see in the background, like one of the first scenes, is you see the cabinet of the map, and you also see a cabinet showing the first ever Kerblam delivery robot, which later on in the episode do play a part in the story, where the Doctor needs that robot to get some information that she needs. And that is just, there's some really great world building here, and some of the sets and Jennifer Perrot's directing here is phenomenal. You really get the feel of the workplace, and you really get a sense of atmosphere, this kind of warehouse gloom throughout the entire narrative. Doesn't light up, with the exception of some few scenes set outside, with this really beautiful garden, which it's literally just like a break for the characters, but it's such a nice place. I wish the episode had more scenes in it. It only has two scenes, if I remember correctly. A scene where you see him on break, something to do with the power outing, and another scene right at the end of the episode. And the world building here is just phenomenal for an episode which is only an hour long, and it's something that's it's part of the reason why I really do like this story. I know a lot of people don't like the story, as I said at the start of the video, but I do really enjoy the story for those two elements. And I think that if you really enjoy stories with a big cast and have each cast member justified in it, and a story full of world building, which, Doctor Who is mainly about going into an environment and exploring that environment, then I think you're going to have a really great time here. However, like I said, a lot of people have issues with this story, so we have to now talk about easily the weakest part of this story. As slowly throughout the story, we find out that the robots or at least lots of people seemingly are going and disappearing. I just realised we never found out, one of the robots seemed to attack Dan, and then, it's never really explained, why that robot took him, because you later learn... Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, he was explained that, he had cybernetic skills, so he learned to Okay, scratch that. Tell a lie. So anyway, they basically learn that like something's happening with the robots that's making them harmful. However, using the information from the original model of the robot hacked into the system, we learn that it's actually the system, the corporation itself, has become a sentient creature of sorts, and it's actually the corporation itself, the system itself, that is begging the Doctor's help. That's the one that sent the message at the start of the story, as they go into a area which no human resources area go to, because they found out, thanks to Judy, that Kara has been taken there for some reason and seemingly is put into some serious danger as Yaz, Ryan, and Charlie go in down there to investigate, and we basically learn that, okay, this is actually something really, a lot of people like, actually I don't like this, I actually really love it. The main weapon of choice for the bad guy is bubble wrap. Bubble wrap that contains micro explosive, which, when pressed, just like obliterates its victim. I absolutely love the effect when Kara dies. You press the button. Like, for some reason, the effect happens when like her head explodes first, but like it made me giggle. Maybe that wasn't the reaction the story wanted me to do. It is a sad scene because, you know, I did actually enjoy Kara as a character. And this scene really doesn't make any sense, especially when you learn that the system is actually trying to keep him alive. But then when you learn why the system did this, it's like, wait, so the story's trying to justify this action of killing Kara here. As we essentially learn that Charlie knew about something about the bubble wrap, and Ryan basically goes to the Doctor to say to her, it's like, no, Charlie has something to do with it. And it turns out that he's actually this kind of extreme activist that doesn't like the idea of the 10% system. It's like, because the way he justifies it is, what they want us to be happy that 10%, that 90% of people are out of work. No, that's ridiculous. Like, how long will it be until they say 5% of workplaces, 2%? Like, that's something that we shouldn't be proud of. That's something that we shouldn't be striving for. And so basically his plan is he's made this deadly bubble wrap and saved a bunch of robots ready so that they'll send out and destroy and kill a bunch of people simultaneously. And people will blame the corporation. People will blame automatic systems, and will make it more likely that the human factors will get more involved in the working environment. That's a generally good, I mean, it's okay, the bad, he tries to kill people, but his moral applications is absolutely in the right. Where the story falls flat is the Doctor's final speech, where she basically proclaims it's not the systems that's the problem. It's people using and exploiting the systems, like you using it right now. You're not an activist, you're just a murderer. Though true, he is a murderer. He is going to plan to basically just kill innocents just to make his point across. Not really his point across, because, he is infiltrating these robots to go around and kill these people. So, like, it doesn't really work in terms of that. But, he's trying to get the world to believe it so that more humans can have more lives and stuff. But the Doctor never brings up the fact it's like, yes, only 10% of people working and everything else automatic is a messed up system. Basically, in the story about Amazon, the Doctor Who story about Amazon, probably the most out of character thing the 13th Doctor has done so far is side with Amazon. What? Yeah, this is the thing that a lot of people really didn't like about this story, is her moral applications as to, like, why not to... I mean, don't get me wrong, he is the bad guy. He does want to kill people just to get his point across. And though he has the right moral applications for it, what he's doing, killing innocent people, is wrong and shouldn't be allowed to do it. But why the Doctor wants to stop him, why the Doctor, her rebuttal to his theological, his philosophy and why he's doing this is completely messed up. She's basically saying, and the story kind of has, when you rewatch this episode with this implication, it is kind of hard not to see like the episode trying to side with it. A lot of characters really like the working environment, even when they get treated like really shittily upon, like Kara did when Java came along and just absolutely annihilated her confidence. And the Doctor does defend him, but then it turns out he's like the good guy in this story. Like it turns out like he was like this kind of, he was investigating as he has a file, all like analog, all full of paper of missing people, and he doesn't know like if the Doctor's involved in it or not. So it turns out like he's the good guy. He's a good guy, kind of justifying in terms of the narrative of how he treated his workers at the working place, which is just completely messed up. And like I say, like Dan enjoyed where he works and he's happy to work there, but he is killed by, as we later learn, Charlie lied to it in his CV, and he's actually a trained engineer who actually programmed the machines to kill, to take these people and to test this bubble wrap. And like, what? Messed up. There's also a really strange thing about the ending. The Doctor basically cheats the system. Basically, she solves the problem by changing. She can't stop them from activating and go into the delivery. It's all an automatic system, but she can change the location of where the people where these robots are sending them to, and she sends them all to the same place where they are right now. And so each robot picks up and activates the bubble wrap. But for some reason, Charlie runs down into the robots, and when he sees them all like yes, and the Doctor shouts, "It's like, right, deliver all here and stuff." Like literally just moments just before they press the bubble wrap, just Charlie look around and is just like, "What's happening? What's going on?" As the Doctor and the rest of the team teleport away. It's a very strange, and I'm going to be honest, stupid way to end a story like this. And it's very odd. It's just very, very odd. And the episode has our characters talking with the people who they were investigating before, Judy and Java, who are basically like, right, we are basically going to try and make things right in the workplace. We'll get more human working. Nothing about like the treatment of people or like thing. Just like more people will work, and they just leave it at that. And the Doctor's just like, yeah, okay, that's fine, and walks off. And then we get that scene which I talked about earlier about Yaz giving the necklace to the Doctor. It's like, we should take it back to Dan's family. And like, that's very odd. It's a very strange, and I do understand why a lot of people don't like this episode because of that. And if you don't like this episode because of the ending, because of what the story is trying to say in terms of like the moral implications of the story is messed up. If you don't like it for that, that is completely justified, and I completely understand that. Like, that is a very good reason not to like this story. So anyway, that's Kerblam. Overall, like I said, not a great story in terms of like the ramifications of it, but I hate to be the one who has to say this, but I actually really enjoyed the story. The world building, the fact that all our characters actually get a lot of great moments, and it feels really well balanced here. A lot of great funny moments. The real world feel of the place, the world building in this environment, just like Space Amazon. Just sounds like a really cool idea for a space setting. It's just all really cool. However, like I said, the story has some really messed up modifications, and the ending really does suck. it does completely held out back the story. But apart from that, I actually think it's a story's a really good time, and I highly recommend you watch it. You might not enjoy it for reasons I have stated throughout this video, but I think it is worth a watch. And so that is Kerblam. So join me next time where the Doctor goes back into the distant past as the Doctor realises that her gender may actually be a bigger factor in her adventures than previously stated before. As the Doctor comes to face with one of the most famous monarchs in English history. So join me next time for The Witchfinders, and I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!